Hello, today I'm gonna talk to you about Reaper and Sage. That's right, the two new jobs that are coming into Endwalker. Both of them are super cool and have amazing aesthetic, but how do they actually feel to play? Well, that's what I'm gonna get into. To put it simply, I think Reaper feels a lot like old Dragoon, with phases of fast machinist-like mode mixed in. And Sage, on the other hand, feels like a mixture of Scholar with some old Dark Knight mechanics thrown in. It's very interesting that both of these jobs incorporate mechanics that Square Enix previously removed from jobs in the past. Like the skills I'm thinking of from Dragoon and Dark Knight are present in some way with Reaper and Sage here. But what do I mean by this? Am I just a crazy person? Am I old and senile? Well, part of that is probably true, but let's dive into that, shall we? But first, I have a word from my sponsor. This video is sponsored by Elion, link in the description below. Elion is a new MMORPG from the creators of Terra. Set in a world of magical technology and unlimited potential, Elion has its players compete in fierce faction wars, take on challenging group content, and features advanced character build options. Elion has officially launched and it's free to play. And for you PvP lovers, it's got open world PvP. Players of opposing realms can attack each other anywhere in the world. And not only that, but it has PvE and a variety of content to enjoy. Among all the free-to-play MMOs out there, Elion is definitely worth the try. So if it looks interesting to you, check it out in the link in the description below. And now back to the video. So first, I'm going to be showing some Endwalker footage from the media tour. So keep in mind that all of this is subject to change, is just development footage. The cool thing about Reaper is that it's going to feel very different to the other melee already in the game, which is great because, I mean, we have a bunch of melee already, right? So what do I mean by it feels like Dragoon? Reaper is probably the most similar to Dragoon if I were to pick one melee, but it also has stuff like Samurai thrown in. Well, first of all, needing to keep up Death's design on your target, which is that debuff that increases your damage on the target, is a lot like Dragoon's Heavy Thrust. Heavy Thrust was an old GCD on Dragoon, which you would need to keep on yourself at all times in order to increase your damage. But anyway, they ended up removing that from the game. I think one of the reasons was it added too much stress? Question mark? But so I guess Reaper is not very stressed. Personally, I really like Death's design. And then there's the overall rotation. Because the rotation is very GCD dependent, you don't have a lot of OGCDs in most of the rotation. Now, of course, maybe there's going to be a skill speed build for Reaper, but it's probably not going to be that. I think it's going to feel like a slower melee where each of your attacks have big impact. I mean, some of these are super high potency, but it doesn't really have a lot of OGCDs to weave in between like Dragoon does. Instead, it goes into really quick phases, kind of like how Machinist works. And then the part that feels like Samurai to me is the big finisher, Communio. I mean, it's got a cast time and it's a high potency attack, so it kind of feels like Reaper's Madare. Oh, in Endwalker 2, we're gonna get Communio too. The main thing about Reaper's rotation is that it flows just so well with itself. It's designed so great, and having the transformation mode is just, oh, chef kiss. Another interesting thing is that the 1-2-3 combo is actually more like filler, as opposed to regular melee where their main combo is kind of, you know, their creme de la creme, what they're always doing. On Reaper, the 1-2-3 combo is what you do as a fallback when you can't do anything else. Very interesting. Also, only two of the skills, or otherwise known as the Soul Reaver attacks, the blue ones, as being the only skills with positionals, is slightly misleading, because there's going to be times where Reaper does a bunch of positionals at once, and then times where you're not really doing them, and you're going to space them out. Like at the bare minimum, you're going to be doing a positional every 5 GCDs, but every time you use Gluttony on the 1 minute cooldown, you're going to do 2 positionals back to back. And in the opener, you're going to do a bunch of positionals too. So time will tell how it feels in fights, but I think positionals aren't going to be as barren as you might think. Personally, I like positionals on melee. And of course, potencies are going to change, and we don't really know this yet, but if I were to guess where Reaper is going to sit, you know, on the DPS charts within the melee, I think it's going to be Samurai at the top, and then Monk and Reaper kind of interchange around the same, and then Dragoon and Ninja kind of interchange around the same. That's just my gut feeling, but I think that's about where it's going to be. I'm just really excited to play Reaper. I don't know when I'm going to level it, because I'm going to be doing the story first on Summoner, but it's probably going to be the first thing I do right after I finish Endwalker story. And somehow I'll still see a Reaper in my level 89 dungeons. Like, how did you get here? And now Sage. Oh man, if I had picked up this game and Sage was already there, I might have been a main healer. It might have happened. I mentioned this in the Sage video, but I think it's so true. In a lot of Gundams, there's usually a nation that likes to keep out of the war, right? Like they're all hands off, but they end up being super advanced and always have the best technology. And I think that's really what we're going to be seeing here with Charlian, because I mean, look at the technology that Sage has. And it's just oozing Gundam aesthetic. Like even the sound effects, it's just so good. And the Gundam wings, like, oh my God. So I think Sage feels very overwhelming at first because you have all of these tooltips you got to read, you know, for a brand new level 90 job. But once you really read them, it's really not so bad. I think it's actually fairly straightforward, honestly, which is a good thing because there's going to be a lot of people playing Sage who have never healed before. So expect to see a lot of new healers and just be nice to them in dungeons, okay? Let them try out healing and see for themselves how salt-inducing it is. I'm not sure what about Sage deemed it to be gifted with the very first healer gap closer, but hey, I'm cool with it because, you know, they're Gundam wings, so... Oh yeah, I had to talk about why I called it like Dark Knight. Well, Eucrasia, that ability that you push to augment your other abilities, is very reminiscent of old Dark Knight Dark Arts. And I love the Dark Arts. On old Dark Knight, you could push Dark Arts. It was an OGCD that would augment some of your abilities. It would make certain actions more powerful or even add effects to them. So Eucrasia feels a lot like that. It does the neat little trick of actually saving 3 buttons on your hotbar too, while at the same time making it more interesting than just pressing a different button. Like, oh, I have an AoE heal, but if I Eucrasia, now it's an instant shield heal. Oh, that's awesome. Or, oh, here's my spammable DPS spell, but oh, I hit Eucrasia, now it's a dot. It also kind of has Blackest Night from Dark Knight, because if you pop its Adlo equivalent, the single target shield, and it breaks, you get to use a DPS spell. Hopefully the potencies are adjusted to make it worthwhile to do it even on single target, but I just think that's a really cool flavor and something very interesting to do even during dungeon pulls. Also, can we talk about the spell names? I mean, like Phlegma? Phlegma? We were all memeing about that during the media tour. We were like, oh no. Phlegma, Numa, people are gonna meme about these ability names. Pepsi, oh, Pepsi. Oh no. And Numa, oh my goodness. I wish Numa did the heal in the line AoE, which is what I thought it did at first. Because it said it was a line AoE DPS spell and that it also healed. I thought it would have been so funny if you had to also aim the laser beam at your party members to heal them. That would have been great. Actually, you know what? Can we change that? Go back and change that. I guess I should mention Cardia, huh? The thing that you could put on a single target to heal them with your DPS spells. I mean, all this really is just fairy healing, but you have to activate it yourself. I think it's pretty cool. You're probably just going to be swapping it between tanks. I don't think there's going to be much of a reason to swap it onto a DPS because you could just heal them up with an OGCD instead. And Haima and Panhaima, like, oh my goodness, they're so interesting. I think this is the special ability that Sage got because you know the other healers have a big heal mode, right? Like White Mage has the wings, Astrologian has the planets that go around them, Scholar has the big fairy. Sage doesn't have a big heal transform mode like that. So I guess Haima is the interesting thing that it got. Kind of hoping we see a special big heal mode, you know, next expansion maybe. That'll be a cool, exciting thing for Sage. Maybe, you know, it just like goes into a Gundam. I'm definitely going to be leveling Sage. It's actually going to make me play healer again. I haven't really played healer much in Shadowbringers, but aesthetically, it's just so cool. I don't even care if it's good or bad. It doesn't matter to me. It's cool. So that'll do it for me. Thank you for listening to me rambling about Reaper and Sage. I'm just so excited about Endwalker, so I have to talk about things so I don't go crazy. But hey, we could go crazy together, huh? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.